All right, let's open up a case file, shall we? This one's a real literary mystery. We're talking about a brilliant mind who seems to have been, well, deliberately erased from history.
And that right there, that's the big question, isn't it? The question that's going to drive this whole investigation. See, this isn't just about someone who was unpopular. No, this is about someone being actively forgotten. And our job today is to figure out why.
It's such a strange paradox when you think about it. He's not really gone, he's just forgotten. He wasn't just silent, he was silenced. That's a huge difference. It's not a natural fading away, it's a deliberate muting of a voice.
Okay, let's dive in. We're on the hunt for a man who's become this phantom, a figure who's defined more by his absence than by his presence.
So in the world of Afghan literature, there's this one name that just sort of hangs in limbo, Omran Rateb. And his vanishing act? It's not just some clerical error or a simple oversight. No, it's a symptom, like a tear in the cultural fabric that tells you something is really, really wrong underneath.
So that's what we're here to do. We need to get past this mystery of where did he go and start digging into who was he? And even more importantly, what were his ideas? What was so powerful about what he had to say?
All right, let's start building a profile of this guy. What exactly made his work so different, so unique, and, so threatening to the powers that be?
Okay, so this was his signature move, his secret weapon, if you will. It's called the philosophical sting. And his goal wasn't just to write a book review. Oh no, it was to use critique as a tool to actually jolt the reader, to kind of wound their cozy assumptions and force them to wake up and see things on a much deeper level.
And you really get a sense of how radical this was when you put it next to what everyone else was doing. I mean, the Afghan literary scene at the time, it was all about gentle language, preserving harmony, friendly chats. Then Rateb shows up with a completely different toolkit. He wasn't there to praise anyone. He was there to deconstruct everything and shatter illusions.
And this quote just nails it, right? He prioritized truth over tact. For him, critique wasn't some polite social gathering. It was a duty. He genuinely believed that you don't find truth by agreeing with each other. You find it by ripping away the curtains, even if it's painful.
So we've got a profile of our guy. Now it's time for the real detective work. Let's get to the core of this whole thing, piecing together the evidence to figure out why. Why did he vanish?
The way I see it, there are basically 4 locks on his legacy. Each one played a role in sealing his work away, making sure it didn't reach the next generation. Let's go through them one by one.
Lock number 1, his radical language. It was just so direct, so sharp. It was like he held up this perfectly clear mirror to society, but the reflection was so uncomfortable, so unflattering, that it was easier to just smash the mirror than to look at themselves. So this wasn't an accident. It was a symbolic kicking out. Then there's the second lock. His philosophy was just complex. It was tough stuff. Someone called it the poison of thought, which is brilliant. It's like a powerful medicine, right? It could cure ignorance, but the dose was way too strong for a culture that was used to, intellectual comfort food. Lock number 3 was his fierce independence. The man just refused to play the game. He wouldn't join the cool kids' table, wouldn't align with any political party or literary group. He chose to stay on the margins, and because of that, his independence eventually became his isolation. And the fourth and final lock? It's actually a really practical one. There just weren't any robust institutions around to save his work. No archives, no university departments that were willing to champion this difficult, prickly guy. So without that safety net, his legacy just scattered in the wind.
Okay, so Rateb's story is fascinating, but it didn't happen in a vacuum, right? To really get it, we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the whole cultural climate of the time.
Think about it. Afghan culture for so long has been defined by the constant rush of just trying to survive. When you're in crisis mode 24/7, there's just not a lot of time or energy for the kind of deep, deliberate thinking that Rateb's work required. Critical thought becomes a luxury, not a necessity. And this quote really puts it into perspective. Forgetting wasn't just a mistake, it was a survival strategy. And in a country where even victims of war are forgotten so quickly, what chance did a difficult, challenging critic really have? His voice just got lost in all the noise. So, We've looked at the evidence, we've looked at the context. Now we come to maybe the most important part of this whole case. What's the price of all this? What does a culture actually lose when it decides to erase a mind like Omran Rateb's?
And you have to understand, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. Forgetting a thinker like this isn't a passive thing. It's an active choice. It's like a self-inflicted wound on a culture's own future, on its ability to think critically and grow. And here's the final twist, the big reveal of our investigation. He wasn't erased because he was worthless or irrelevant. It's the exact opposite. He was erased because his worth, his value, was a direct threat to the way things were. He was dangerous, so he had to go.
And that is why we have to remember him. Because remembering Rateb means remembering what real, honest critique is supposed to do. It helps us build up an immunity to all the superficial noise out there. It's about finding the guts to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves. And really, it's about fighting for a future where ideas like his aren't just tolerated, they're celebrated.
So that leads us with one last and I think pretty urgent question. Because his story isn't really about the past, is it? It forces us to look around, right now, and ask ourselves, who is the Omran Rateb of our time? Whose challenging, uncomfortable, but absolutely vital voices are we ignoring today? And are we making the choice to listen, or are we choosing to forget?